Carry on, high into the hill. Carry on, I say to you, with the rising moon, the cold commands. I'm just a pioneering boy for the promised land. I once was strong, with conscience free. I once knew love, yeah, she sang to me. Too numb to feel, I'm too weak to stand, and so I will dream tonight for the promised land, yeah. Yeah, carry on. Carry on with that moonrise, yeah. My name to refugee. Hey, they changed the way that you think of me. Blood led my heart through my open hands, because I filled my cup in that promised land. Hey, so carry on. Carry on with the moonrise. Hey. Oh. Darkest night, that's dragon stung, but I have seen the stars. Now my wonder is one. Killed, and on the moon we'll stand to the blazing veil, to the promised land.
¡Viva España! I wish I knew your beautiful language. I do not. So we're going to be relying on the translation here. Do I have to stand to the side for you to see that? Or do I have to talk like this for you to see that? Are you okay if I'm... Okay. That would be weird if I gave my whole talk over here. So that expression, Viva España, how would you put that in English? Long live Spain, maybe? Or may Spain come alive? Something like that? Is that accurate? If Spain is to come alive, there's a weird echo on my mic there, like God just showed up or something. If Spain is to come alive, Spain must learn to love. And Spain is not some abstraction. You are Spain. You must learn to love. And I want to suggest in the world today there is a crisis of love. There's a crisis of love in the modern world because we don't know what a human person is anymore. I want to suggest the crisis of love in the modern world is rooted in a crisis of the person. And the crisis of the person, I want to suggest, is rooted in a crisis of the body. In the modern world, we are trained to look at the body as something rather than to see the body as someone. My dear sisters, don't you know deep in your heart the difference between when a guy is looking at you and when a guy sees you? St. Augustine says, the deepest desire of the human heart is to see another and to be seen by that other's loving gaze. Think about that for a minute. What does it mean to see another and be seen by that other's loving gaze? Let's go back to that video that we started the night with. There was only one person in that video who saw. When you start to see what's really going on in the world, you want to start waking people up because people are blind. Jesus said it this way, we look, but we do not see. And so one of the main invitations of Jesus in the Gospels is Him saying, come and become one who sees. Let's review. What am I talking about? What are we saying here? There's a crisis of love in the modern world. And the crisis of love is rooted in the crisis of the person. We don't know what a person is anymore. And we don't know what a person is anymore because there's a crisis of the body. And the crisis of the body is this. We've been trained to look at the body, but not to see the body. And when we look at the body, we treat the body as something rather than loving the body as someone. And when we treat the body as something, we treat people as dispensable, replaceable, and repeatable. What does it mean to treat someone as dispensable? See, this is the difference between persons and things. A toaster is dispensable. If your toaster breaks, you throw it away. But a person is indispensable. To throw away a person is to wound that person at a very deep level. We know this. When we are treated as a thing that is dispensable, it hurts us. It wounds us terribly. Toasters are not only dispensable, toasters are repeatable and replaceable. What does that mean? You can go to the store and you can find 100 or 1,000 toasters just like the one you had that broke. So toasters are dispensable, repeatable, you can find any number of the exact same model, and replaceable. But human beings, the human person, is indispensable, irreplaceable, and unrepeatable. I need to talk to someone who knows English. Raise your hand if you know English. What's your name? Carolina?
Carolina.
Carolina, it is an absolute honor to meet you. Because there is no other you. There never was, there never will be another you. Carolina is an absolutely indispensable, irreplaceable, unrepeatable human being. And so are you. And so are you. And so are you. I'm not sure about the people on this side, but so are you, and you, and so am I. The crisis of love in the modern world, my brothers and sisters, comes precisely from the fact that we look, but we don't see this. And when we merely look at the body as something, rather than seeing the body as someone, we reduce the body to a list of pleasing or unpleasing qualities. And we evaluate another human being based on whether their external qualities please me or displease me. If I don't like your qualities, I'll just swipe. Swipe to the next one. Swipe to the next. What did I just do to that human person? In my mind and in my heart, I'm saying to myself, you are dispensable, replaceable. I don't like your nose. Swipe. Your breasts are not big enough. Swipe. This is the wound. We are bleeding as a people because of this crisis of love, rooted in the crisis of the person, rooted in the crisis of the body. Tonight, my brothers and sisters, I have come to Spain as my name indicates. My name is Christopher, which means Christ bearer. And in the name of Christ, and in bearing Him to you, I want to invite you all, come and become one who sees. Let me talk a little bit more about this idea of reducing a person to repeatable qualities. Now, there's nothing wrong with being attracted to someone's external qualities. St. John Paul II tells us in his marvelous teaching, which I'll be unfolding for you here tonight, St. John Paul II tells us that those attractions we feel to certain qualities that a person has, that is the raw material of love. It's the first step, that attraction towards certain qualities. I'll tell you a little bit about myself here. Ever since I can remember as a little boy, I've always been attracted to red hair. I don't know why. I find red hair very attractive. My wife is a brunette. If my love only went as deep as red hair, how's my wife going to feel about herself in our relationship? She's going to feel insecure that she doesn't have red hair. And she's going to think in order to win my love, she has to dye her hair red. But all the while, she's going to know underneath it's just hair coloring. I don't really have red hair. I don't really please him. And then when we're out to dinner, and an attractive red-headed waitress shows up to take our order, if my love stops merely at the quality of red hair, where is my love going to go when that red-headed waitress shows up? And how's my wife going to feel at that moment? Repeatable, replaceable, dispensable. qualities are repeatable. I can find red hair in any number of women. But the inner mystery of the person is unrepeatable. There's no other Wendy West in the whole world. Never was, never will be. And if my love reaches that level, now we have a foundation on which to build something that can last forever. Because the dignity of the person is in some way infinite. If my wife knows my love reaches her at that level, then it doesn't matter what color her hair is. And when the red-headed waitress shows up and I say to my wife, doesn't she have beautiful red hair? My wife doesn't shrink and think, oh, my husband doesn't love me, because my wife knows that that waitress is not her. There's no other Wendy. When we reduce love to the mere external qualities that attract us, here's another danger. Qualities are not only repeatable, meaning you can find them in any number of people, qualities also change with time. For example, men are trained in our pornographic culture to be attracted to a certain size and shape and, shall I say, firmness of figure in a woman. Well, these certain firm and perky qualities will change over time. Can we acknowledge that these certain perky qualities may well sag over time? Did that get translated correctly? Because usually there's a laugh at that point, and there was no laugh there, so I'm wondering if that got translated okay. Did those who are bilingual, did that come across? What happened there? Did I scare you? Am I not supposed to talk about breasts in Spain? Is there a cultural difference here that I'm not aware of? Did I just offend the whole room? Are we okay? Should I keep going? Okay. Keep going, okay. My point is this. What is the phenomenon, and we know it, it's real, what is the phenomenon of the man in his 60s who divorces the woman to whom he's been married for the last 35 years and goes and marries this 25-year-old hottie? What's going on there? This is an indication that this man looked but didn't see. His love stopped at external qualities, qualities that over time change, fade, and so his love shifted to where he could find those attractive qualities in another person. This is not love. This is not love. We are toying with one another when we treat one another this way. Swipe. If we're honest with ourselves, don't we know this to be true? You know what else happens when we live in a culture like this? Remember the woman in the video who was terribly crestfallen, and then she looks in her phone? We start to wear masks. And that scene in the video of the exaggerated plastic surgery and Botox, we start emphasizing the pleasing qualities in order to win people's love. All the while underneath, there is this bone-aching question, does anyone really see me? Does anyone really love me? These themes come out with remarkable clarity in, of all places, the Pixar movie Toy Story 3. Have the Toy Story movies made their way to Spain? Yes, you know Toy Story 3? Okay, new to the Toy Story saga is a stuffed bear named Lotso. Lotso is the self-appointed tyrant leader of Sunnyside Daycare. And he is a total jerk to everyone. Dominates everyone, controls the situation. But I once heard it said, and I believe it to be true, that behind the eyes of everyone you meet is a story that if you knew it would make you weep. And as Toy Story 3 unfolds, we get to know Lotso's story. And we begin to have compassion for him. Years earlier, Lotso was Daisy's favorite toy. Daisy took Lotso everywhere, including on a family vacation. And on this family vacation, Daisy mistakenly left Lotso behind at a rest stop along the highway. Lotso travels back to Daisy's house through many storms and trials. He finally reaches Daisy's house, and he looks in the window, and he sees that Daisy is playing with another stuffed bear just like him. He had been replaced. He had been repeated. He had been dispensed with. And the narrator says it was then that Lotso snapped inside and became a monster. We know people like this. And maybe we ourselves struggle with it. People who are so wounded in their lives by other people's lack of love that they determine, if I can't be loved, then no one else is going to be loved either. And we see this in different ways in Lotso's character. At one point he says to Woody, remember who Woody is? Woody is Andy's favorite toy. Lotso says, "You think you're special, cowboy? You're nothing but a piece of plastic. You're meant to be thrown away." Whoa, whoa. Time out. You are not a piece of plastic. You are never meant to be toyed with. You are never meant to be thrown away, ever. That's what Toy Story 3 is all about. Deep stuff for a kids' movie. There's another scene when the Ken doll is about to sacrifice himself to save Barbie. And this is what happens when we begin to see the person and the true value and dignity of the person. We realize you are so great in dignity that it is worth sacrificing my whole life to uphold your dignity. This is the gospel message. This is who Jesus is. He's saying you are worth this much that I'm going to sacrifice everything so that you come to know who you really are. And so the Ken doll is in a kind of Christ role here. He's sacrificing himself to save Barbie. And Lotso says, "What are you doing, Ken? She's a Barbie doll. There's 100 million just like her." And Ken says, "Not to me, she's not. She's the only one." And what does Barbie do? Ah! Why does Barbie melt? Because the deepest desire of the human heart is to be seen. I know it's a Barbie doll, but the toys are us, right? The toys are an allegory for the way we feel. That's why we relate to these movies so much. My brothers and sisters, We need to stop pretending this is fun. We need to stop treating one another's bodies, treating one another's genitals as toys to play with. We need to recognize that the body reveals a great mystery. And we need to start a new phase, a new stage of our journey. And that new phase of our journey begins with recognizing how we've been hurt and how we've hurt others and asking forgiveness. And please don't get me wrong, I don't think for a moment that the problem in relationships falls entirely on the guy's shoulders. I don't believe this at all. Maybe I speak from the male perspective because, well, I'm a male. But ladies, you know how to toy with men just as much as men know how to toy with women. And whenever we do this with one another, we hurt one another terribly. So don't let it be thought even for a moment that what I'm about to say means I believe this is just a guy's problem. But I do think, guys, we have a particular responsibility. And here I'm quoting St. John Paul II. He says, men have a particular responsibility to restore the balance of love in the sexual relationship. As if it depended more on us, guys, he says, whether that balance is broken or if it's already been broken, if it's reestablished. And so I'm going to step out on a limb here as a man. And I want to say to each and every woman here, would you allow me, as a representative of the male side of the human race, to say to each and every one of you, I am so sorry for the ways that we as men look at you but fail to see you. I am so sorry for the ways that we as men treat you as dispensable, replaceable, repeatable. I'm so sorry for the ways that we fail to honor your feminine differences and make you feel inferior. I have 2 daughters, and man, it's scary raising daughters in this world today. It's a different set of challenges. Despite the whole modern push to claim that men and women are simply interchangeable, there are some serious differences that put a particular burden, it seems, on women. And it's connected to a certain vulnerability you have in the fact that you have a womb. Men are the kind of creatures that if we have sex, we just have sex and we go on. But you are the kind of creature as a woman that if you have sex, one of the most stunning miracles in the universe can take place, the conception of another life. Guys, do we even know how to see and honor a woman's womb as something beautiful, as a treasure? Forgive us, my dear sisters. We don't know how to do this in the modern world. We look, but we don't see. And I know it in my daughters' hearts. They long to be seen by their papa in a very particular way. My daughters are now 14 and 9, but when they were little, smaller, they would love to dress up in princess costumes, you know, like the dress and things. They'd go down in the basement to the costume drawer. They'd put on the princess dress, and they'd come running up looking for me. And they'd pull on my leg, "Papa, look!" There they are in that gown. And truly, I want to honor that precious, tender vulnerability in my daughter. And I'm thinking of the world they are going to be raised in and the world they're going to be exposed to. And I think, oh, my precious girls, you're going to grow into women. Woman in gown. You are made for much better than this.
There's frost on the sheets when the sun went down. There's no place to lay your head. You stand in this valley of tears all around. He stands as your jury instead. And he holds you in bribe as you try to hide what is sacred he objects to dismiss. Oh, woman in gown, you are made for much better than this. We try to deceive, to make you believe you can be held and dropped on a dime. But nothing, my dear, should be held in the fear. A drop is just natural with time. And no, you cannot be taken, all your value forsaken. Deny that Judas kiss. And oh, woman in gown, you are made for much better than this. Oh, sleep, my dear, and may you rest until disorder has been fixed. Oh, woman in gown, you are made for much better than this. We fashion our breath to the lowest of depth and let pleasure be the host of what's real. But I say let's sacrifice, boys, and smother the noise as the goods they've been fixing to steal. But I am only a man, so please understand. But won't you take my hand, I insist. Oh, woman in gown, you are made for much better than this. Stand tall, my bride, and don't you compromise. I will show you what their promises miss. Oh, woman in gown, you are made for much better than this. You are made for much better than this.
30 years ago, on a college campus, yes, I am that old. 30 years ago, on a college campus, I had an experience, a tragic experience, that changed the course of my life and brought me here to you tonight. I'd like to share that with you. I did a little experiment one weekend. I decided to stay sober for one weekend, and it changed my life. I was beginning to question whether the get drunk, get laid mentality really brought the happiness that everybody said it was supposed to. I wasn't sure. I wasn't buying it. People didn't seem very happy. And I began to wonder, why does all this sex go hand in hand with all this alcohol? Why do we have to be drunk in order to be having all this sex? And I began to wonder, I think something's wrong with the vision that's being presented here. So I decided to stay sober, to take a look at what was really going on. So I wasn't, in English we say beer goggles. Do you know what beer goggles are? You know, yes? Beer goggles. It means you're seeing the world through the fog of alcohol. So you're not seeing clearly. That's why I decided to stay sober for one weekend. My roommate came back from a party very drunk. and he vomited all over our dorm room. It smelled terrible, so I grabbed my pillow and my blanket and went looking for another room to sleep in. And as I left, I looked back at my roommate, passed out in a puddle of his own vomit, kind of fluorescent vomit because of what he had been drinking. And I asked myself, is this fun? Is he having a good time? I walked down the hall looking for an open door. I found one, came into the room, put my pillow and my blanket on the floor. Guy comes back to his room with a girl and doesn't know I'm on the floor, and proceeds to try to have his way with this young woman. And I'll never forget her saying, "Stop, stop. I'd only want to do this if I knew you loved me." To which he responded, "I love you, I love you." I think we laugh because if we don't laugh, we'll weep. But we all know that's not funny. I won't get into all the details of what happened that night, but it was pretty horrific. And it compelled me to ask some very big questions about the meaning of life, about the meaning of love, about the meaning of sex. And I remember falling on my knees in a college dorm, saying, "God in heaven, if you exist, you better show me why you gave me all these desires, because they're getting me and everybody I know into a hell of a lot of trouble. We're in so much pain. What is this? What am I supposed to do with all these things I feel?" And the question that was haunting me was this: what is it in us as human beings that can lead us to treat other human beings as nothing but things for our selfish pleasure? I had a lot of anger at this guy, but I had to hold the mirror up to myself and say, am I much better in the way I think, in the way I fantasize, when I'm looking at pornography? What am I fantasizing about when I'm masturbating? What is going on when I'm in bed with my girlfriend? Do I really love her? I don't know. I don't even know what love is. Am I just using her? I think I am. I think I'm using her because it feels good. Is this the way to treat another human being? I don't know. I just had questions. And I'll never forget, I was dating a very attractive young woman, and we were sexually active, and I couldn't even believe the words were coming out of my mouth. And right as they were coming out of my mouth, I was like, "Oh, can I take them back? Can I take them back?" I told her, "I don't think we should have sex anymore." I was thinking, why am I even saying that? But it came out of my mouth, and I had to stand behind it, and she and I were in a big argument about it. And she said, "Why? Why? What is your problem? Why don't you want to have sex with me?" And this came out of my mouth. I wasn't expecting this. It just came out. And I said, "Because 20 years from now, I don't want to end up like your dad with a stack of porno magazines in the closet. I want to learn what it really means to love a woman." And I said, "Whoa, that just came out. I can't take that one back either." And then I saw the tear welling up in the corner of her eye from the pain of having been raised by a father who was addicted to pornography, and the image that this created of herself and what a woman is supposed to be to please a man. She eventually broke up with me because I didn't know how to love her. But man, did I want to know how to love a woman. I was seeking answers to my questions, and long story short, what I eventually discovered was the teaching of this crazy Polish guy. Maybe you've heard of him, St. John Paul II. And I discovered that For the first 5 years of his pontificate, between 1979 and 1984, he delivered over 129 talks in the Vatican, unfolding this amazing vision of God's plan for sex. And interestingly enough, those 5 years, that's like when I was going through puberty. I was like, wow, right when I was going through puberty, this was coming out. I didn't know anything about it. And I remember reading it, and I remember I had to have a theological dictionary right next to it so I could look up his vocabulary words. But it's a scholarly work, but oh man, I felt like he was speaking right to my heart. And this is what I heard. I felt like he was talking right to me, like Christopher, from the Pope. He was saying, Christopher, you know that ache inside? That yearning you always have felt deep in your bones for love, for union, for joy, for affirmation? He said that desire has a name. And to my surprise, he said it's called eros. E-R-O-S. It's a Greek word. But all I could think of was the way in the English language we've twisted that word all up. And in my mind, I was confusing eros with another Greek word, porneia. And he was saying, no, these are two very different things. He says eros, this is my analogy, but I learned the idea from him. Eros was given to us by God to be like the fuel of a rocket that has the power to launch us to the stars. And if I might quote from Toy Story one more time, to infinity and beyond. I was learning that this cry of my heart called eros, this ache I'd always felt my whole life, it had a trajectory. But here's the tragedy. See, there's this thing called original sin, which has really messed up our humanity. And with original sin, our rocket engines got inverted. This is why so many of us go out into the world seeking love, seeking happiness, seeking just good time. But it backfires on us. And we crash and we burn. And if we have the courage to remove the numbing agents from our lives, if we have the courage to stop getting drunk so we can actually listen to the pain in our hearts, if we have the courage to just have times of silence in our lives and not always have earbuds in, not always have distractions, but just be still and listen to what's really going on in there, we'll start to realize we're in pain. Even more, we're in misery. And I learned the meaning of this word, misericordia. I believe that's pretty close to how in Spanish you say mercy, yes? Misericordia. It's a Latin word, and it means a heart that gives itself to those in misery. In my more honest moments, I knew I was in a lot of misery. I knew that I had tried to launch, but my rocket engines backfired. And I crashed big time, and I hurt myself, and I hurt a lot of other people. But this message about misericordia resonated deeply in my heart. And I learned that God's mercy is given to us to redirect our rocket engines towards the stars so that we can learn what it means to love. I learned that Christianity holds out to the world not redemption from sexuality, but the redemption of sexuality. I learned that there was an original plan that God had for man and woman, a beautiful, wonderful plan. And in poetic fashion, the Bible describes the first man and woman as naked without shame. And I longed for this. Here's a line from John Paul II that really speaks to my heart. He says, nakedness without shame demonstrates that they rejoiced rightly in the full revelation of the other's beauty. Let me say that again. They rejoiced rightly in the full revelation of the other's naked beauty. You see, the problem with pornography, I learned from John Paul II, is not that it shows naked bodies. The Sistine Chapel shows naked bodies. The problem with pornography is the manner in which it shows the naked body. It shows the naked body as something to be used rather than as the revelation of someone who's meant to be loved as an indispensable, irreplaceable, unrepeatable person. I learned from St. John Paul II that our bodies themselves tell a divine story. I learned that the Scripture begins with a marriage in an earthly paradise. Do you know what the word Eden means? We're created in Eden. This is a poetic use of language. Eden means, if we were to put it in English, fertile pleasure park. God created us in a fertile pleasure park. And you know what the first commandment He gave the human race was? Have fertile pleasure. Have fertile pleasure. Be fruitful and multiply. See, in the modern world, we zoom in on the pleasure part, but that whole fertility thing, no, we don't want any of that. Give me the pleasure, but not the fertility. My brothers and sisters, what I also came to discover from St. John Paul II is that all of the sexual chaos in the world today and the gender confusion in the world today, we will never understand where it comes from until we recognize that the original gender confusion happens when we render our genitals unable to generate. When we render our genitals unable to generate, we eventually degenerate. Our bodies tell a story. They're meant to be a sign in the world of God's eternal, life-giving love. Dream with me for a moment. Just dream with me. Imagine what this campus would look like if you here and everyone on this campus came to a deep awe and reverence for the mystery of human fertility. How would that change the culture of this campus? Ladies, how would it change your relationships if the men you were in a relationship with honored the fact that if we had sex, you could get pregnant? How would it change your relationships if the men you were in relationship with said, I love the fact that if we had sex tonight, you could conceive a baby. I think that's awesome. But it's not a good idea to bring a baby into the world right now, so we're not going to have sex. Correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I would think or hope that you would think, oh my gosh, this guy's really ready to sacrifice himself to uphold my dignity. You know, 50 years ago, if a guy said to a girl, I want to have sex with you, she could rightly conclude, oh my gosh, this guy wants to lay down his life for me and raise a family. This is awesome. Today, if a guy says, I want to have sex with you, it means you're hot and I want an orgasm. And if the orgasm wasn't pleasing enough, swipe. There are plenty of other people I can go to for my orgasm. Do I exaggerate? Is it striking a nerve? If we're willing, and believe me, I know it takes courage to really look at these things honestly. If we're willing, we're going to recognize we're in a lot of pain here. There is a love that knows you in your pain. There is a love. It's called mercy, misericordia. There is a heart that gives itself to you in your pain, that touches that pain. God speaks to me often in movies, and I just had an image from a movie. Did E.T. make it to Spain? Okay, remember the glowing finger? Ouch. When E.T. touches Elliot's finger because it's bleeding, and he goes, ouch, and he touches it, and boom, it's healed. Right? I just saw this glowing finger, like reaching for our hearts from heaven, kind of like Michelangelo's finger of God, right? But it's glowing, and it's going, ouch. Let me touch you right there. Let me show you I love you right there. Let me heal you and bless you right there. And let me show you another way to see. Let me show you another way to think. Let me show you another way to experience sexual desire and sexual attraction so that you don't crash and burn, so that you actually learn what it means to love, so that you can get in touch with the deepest cry of your heart, and you can know that you are not crazy to want to be loved as an indispensable, irreplaceable, unrepeatable human person that is worthy of real love. You're not crazy to know that you're not meant to be toyed with. You're not meant to be played with. You're meant to be loved. Your body and my body tells an amazing story. The Bible begins with the union of man and woman in a fertile pleasure park, but it ends with the union of God and us in an eternal paradise. The Bible begins with the marriage of man and woman. It ends with the marriage of God and humanity. And what I learned from St. John Paul II is that God made us male and female and called the two to this intimate union to be a little glimmer, a sign here on planet Earth of an eternal destiny. But where are you aiming your desire? In the end, desire has a trajectory, and it will take us wherever we aim it. If we are aiming our yearning for perfect love, for everlasting love, at anything less than God, then in the end we're going to have something less than God. And if in the end we have something less than God, that's not a pretty picture. Be not afraid. In your own way, tonight, before you go to bed, to get on your knees. And I love this line from Jesus in the New Testament. He says, when you pray, go in your inner room and close the door. So it's just you and Him. It's just you and God. Get on your knees tonight, before you go to bed, alone with God, and open up what's really going on in there. The deepest questions, the deepest aches, the deepest pains, the deepest longings. I say, Lord, are you there? God in heaven, do you exist? Show me. Show me who you are, and show me who I am. And show me why you gave me all these desires. Show me why you made me a man. Show me the meaning of my penis, God, because I don't know what the heck to do with it. Ladies, your question would be a little different. So you can flip what I'm saying around for you. Why did you make me a man? Why did you make me a woman? And how do I live my sexuality in such a way that I discover the fulfillment of the deepest desires of my heart, rather than going from heartache to heartache to heartache and numbing myself with alcohol and drugs and noise and porn and masturbation. Lord, I'm a mess. But I know you love me in my mess, or at least they tell me I'm loved in my mess. Somebody said, that Christopher West guy said, you love me in my mess. So okay, I'm going to open my mess. Here I go. I'm going to open it up. Here's my mess. Come love me, show me who I am. Redirect my rocket engines towards this eternal destiny. My brothers and sisters, in the end, we all have to recognize nothing in this world lasts forever. This is why Jesus says, in eternity, men and women no longer live this sexual union as we lived it here on planet Earth. Because that was just a glimmer. That was just a foreshadowing of something eternal. Nothing in this world lasts forever. But one thing lasts forever. The eternal union of Christ and the church. Mike's going to sing a song for us that's about this very thing, that we yearn for something eternal, but we are misguided if we are aiming our desires at anything other than the eternal. And let's learn, if we can, right here, right now, to make this a prayer. The early Christian writers tell us that prayer is nothing other than becoming a longing for God. God, are you there? Are you out there? Come, redirect our rocket engines to the stars.
How numb can words remain? How numb can feelings fall? When beloved is amused, no man can escape it all. I feel your distant fever, and at times I hear your plea. I taste my tongue burn from every promise gone selfishly. Before you leave me, mother, please help me understand how a boy can be a lover, how a lover can be a man. So if you want me, baby, please want me here today, because nothing lasts forever and nothing's here to stay. So many seem the mornings, now one less until I go, but no beauty of a sunrise can fulfill the ache that we all must know. I know I acted foolish, I was a thief among family, but no fault can bleach desire to redeem eternity. I know so will forgiveness, I know so will regret. And every time they pierce my heart, it feels like they've never met. So if you want me, baby, please want me here today, because nothing lasts forever, nothing's here to stay. One drop that changed the world, and the sands of time cause agony. That tear released the pearl. So if you want me, baby, please want me here today. Because nothing lasts forever and nothing's here to stay. And if you want me, baby, step out and take my hand. Because nothing lasts forever but the love of woman and man. Yeah, nothing lasts forever but the love of woman and man. Yeah, nothing lasts forever. Oh, 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 oh. Oh, 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 oh,
My brothers and sisters, we've only been able to spend a little over an hour together tonight, but I don't want our journey to stop. And I want to give you a way to continue the journey with me. Would you pull out your smartphone and go to this website, coreproject.com. Core, C-O-R, is Latin for heart. And our mission is to help you get in touch with the deepest desires of your heart and to point a way towards the fulfillment of those desires, to redirect the rocket engines to the stars. So if you go to coreproject.com, what you're going to see right at the top of the website, you're going to see a link for a short film or a little banner up there. Press that to go to the short film, and you'll see to put your email address in there. We're going to email you the link for that film. And over the next 15 days, I'm going to send you an email once a day for 15 days with other videos to watch, little reflections to help you get in touch with what's really going on in there. If you liked what you were hearing tonight and you want to continue the journey, this would be a very simple way for us to stay in touch and continue that journey together. There is also an online course on the theology of the body that I teach that we just launched yesterday. And if you sign up tonight with your email, we will send you information about that online course and how you can take it. I would love, love, love to have you as a student in my online course. I love you guys. It has been a great joy to be with you. Thank you.